So this time we're going to be looking at rearranging the equation to find the gradient. And this is something that you need to know for National 5 and for higher maths. And quite often you'll have seen the questions where you're finding the gradient, but you're doing y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. That's not what we're doing here. It's when we've got equations like this and we have to put them in a format that we can find the gradient. And what I've got over here is 5 steps. Now you won't always need to use every 5 in each one. The best thing for me to do is to just go through the steps with each example. So the first one we've got here, it says find the gradient of the line with the equation ax plus 2y plus 6 equals 0. And the first thing it says is if the y term is negative, carry it over to the other side. Well, as you can see, the y term isn't negative, so we can just ignore that one. Step 2 says if x term doesn't have a coefficient, write in a 1. Well, x does have a coefficient, so we can ignore that step. Step 3 says divide each term through by the coefficient of y. Well, the coefficient of y is 2, so we're just dividing everything through by 2. Obviously, 2 divided by 2 is just 1, so we can leave it like that. And then we've got 6 over 2 equals 0. So 8x divided by 2, I know, is going to be 4x. So I'm just going to do that there. So that becomes 4x. That becomes 3. So this one's done this step. The next step says ensure the y term is on one side and all the other terms are on the other side. So I just want to keep this y here. And then the 4x, when it goes over, is going to become negative 4x. And positive 3, when it goes to the other side, will become negative 3. So this is basically in the y equals mx plus c format. The coefficient of x is the gradient, so that's that bit, so negative 4. So the gradient is negative 4, and the other term is the y-intercept, so y-int is negative 3. We're going to do another example. This time we have another example, and we're asked to rearrange the equation to find the gradient, and we're finding the gradient of the line with equation 6x minus 5y equals 10. So the first step is if y term is negative, carry it over to the other side. So we've got a negative 5y, so we'll carry that over. So when we carry it over, it obviously becomes positive. So we just have 5y plus 10. Step 2 says if x term doesn't have a coefficient, write in a 1. Well, x does have a coefficient, so we don't need to worry about that. Step 3 says divide each term through by the coefficient of y. So we're just dividing everything through by 5. And that just becomes y on its own. And then that's 10 divided by 5. We know that we can simplify 10 divided by 5, that's just 2. And then it says ensure that the y term is on one side and all the other terms are on the other side. So we can keep y here and just take the 2 over. So we've got 6 over 5x, and it will be at minus 2 equals y. So the coefficient of x is the gradient, so 6 over 5. So gradient is 6 over 5. The other term's the y-intercept, which is that one there. So the y-intercept is negative 2. We're going to do another example. This time we have another example. So find the gradient of the line with equation 4y plus x equals 6. So again, we just go through the steps. The first step, if the y term is negative, carry it over to the other side. Well, y isn't negative, so we'll go on to the next one. If the x term doesn't have a coefficient, we write in a 1. So this is the first time where x hasn't had a coefficient, so we write in a 1. Step 3 says divide each term through by the coefficient of y. So the coefficient of y is 4. So when we divide that through, we just get y. That's going to become 1 over 4x. And that's going to become 6 over 4. And what we can do there is we can simplify that. 3 over 2. And then what we want to do is ensure the y term is on one side and all the other terms are on the other side. So if I keep y there, and you could just take away a quarter x if you wish. You could do 3 over 2, take away a quarter x. Or you could have made it negative a quarter x plus 3 over 2. So the coefficient of x is the gradient. So the gradient is negative a quarter. The other term is the y-intercept, which is 3 over 2. We'll do another example. So we have another example here. So find the gradient of the line with equation 2y minus x minus 9 equals 0. So again, we start over here, and if the y term is negative, carry it over to the other side. As you can see, the y term is not negative. The next step says if x term doesn't have a coefficient, write in a 1. Well, it doesn't have a coefficient, so I'm going to write in a 1. Then it says step 3 is to divide each term through by the coefficient of y. So y is a number 2, so I'm just going to divide everything through by 2. So y will just become, the 2y term will just become y on its own. It will become minus 1 over 2x, take away 9 over 2 equals 0. And then step 4, ensure the y terms on one side and all the other terms are on the other side. So if I keep y there, it's going to become positive a half x plus 9 over 2. You might have written it as 9 over 2 plus a half x. The coefficient of x is the gradient. So gradient is a half. I'll just write that there. Gradient is a half, and the y-intercept is 9 over 2. I'll do another example. So this time, we've got this example here. So we're finding the gradient of the line with equation 4x minus 7y minus 3 equals